Aya worked nights. For years she did. The hospital became her world after sunset. Corridors glowed under humming lights. Monitors kept steady rhythms. People came and left like tides. Most faces blurred. Some names she learned. Others she remembered only by breath. She was a single mother. Her daughter Mina was 6. Mina slept at her sister's place on weekdays. Aya taped a photo of Mina to her locker and kissed it before each shift. Money was tight. Love was not. Shauna's drawings lived in a folder by Aya's pillow. Those drawings kept her going on cold, long nights. One rainy evening, an ambulance arrived. They carried a new patient past triage. He wore a suit, though it was creased and damp. They called him Mr. Harris. He had the posture of a man used to orders. He kept his hand near his chest like a guard. He complained. He barked at orderlies. He demanded privacy like a possession. "I need silence," he snapped. He refused visitors. He spoke of losses with a tired voice. When he slept, he looked small and human like anyone else. Ayesha watched him through the doorway. She moved with small, patient gestures. A warm drink, a lowered pillow, an extra blanket folded with care. She left a tiny note on his nightstand. "You are not alone tonight." It felt small. It felt important. Night after night, she returned. He kept a photograph in a worn wallet and touched it like a bruise. Once he muttered a name and stopped. He told stories about numbers and buildings by day. At night, he slept like a simple man. One midnight, he coughed until tears came. Ayesha wiped his brow and hummed a lullaby Mina sang. He startled as if a memory had been touched. He asked, "Do your children sleep well?" She said, "She sleeps when I do my part here." He listened but did not ask again. Small things shifted. He accepted tea. He tolerated small talk. A receipt from a florist appeared in the trash. The flowers had been sent to an address out of town. Isia wondered if a woman waited there, or if it was a letter unmailed. She read aloud from newspapers for men who could not sleep. She folded towels into neat stacks. She left notes that said, "You can rest." Mr. Harris kept her first note tucked under his pillow. She noticed it once while adjusting his bed. Her co-workers said she had a soft heart. She did not argue. Compassion was part of the job. She scratched off nights worked on a calendar like a promise. She kept watching. For Mina. For people who needed someone when the world went dark. On a late morning, sunlight spilled across the ward. Aisha stood by the window and breathed. She did not know his story. She only knew how to be there. That night she made the same quiet promise to show up. She would not turn away again. Ever. Weeks passed and routine settled. Aisha learned Mr. Harris's small habits. He hated daytime television. He liked classical music at dawn. He traced the ceiling lines as if they were maps of another life. He talked less about deals. He talked more in pauses. One night he asked for paper. He wrote a line and handed it to Aisha. "Read it later," he said. The paper smelled like aftershave. He began to crack. His liver numbers slipped. Doctors spoke softly in the corridor. Nurses exchanged looks. Aya kept doing small things, warm socks, a cup of tea, a folded towel. On a stormy night, he cried. He buried his face and breathed hard. She sat in silence and held his hand. He flinched, then relaxed. "I used to have a daughter," he confessed. The words were raw. He said he had pushed people away for work. "I thought money might fix the emptiness," he admitted between coughs. The medical team discussed options in clipped tones. He refused most procedures. "I have nothing left to prove," he said. He wanted quiet and human things. Tea, stories, someone to sit. He squeezed Aya's hand and asked her to stay. She did. Mina called once. Aya told a bedtime tale over the phone and returned to the ward. He asked her to read aloud. She read about a girl and her kite. He listened and smiled. Once, he apologized for being harsh. His apology was small and heavy. Aya found letters in his wallet, old love notes and unpaid bills. A receipt from a florist tucked between them hinted at a life paused. Night rituals formed. Tea at midnight. A playlist of lullabies. A folded blanket in the same corner. Aisha found comfort in these routines. Mr. Harris depended on her small steps. He began to ask about Mina sometimes, asking only if she was well. He never asked more. A crisis came without warning. A fever spiked. Monitors screamed. Doctors rushed in. Aya kept steady. She held his hand and counted breaths. The alarm eased. He opened his eyes and whispered, "Thank you." The word landed like a bell. Afterwards, he slept with his fingers tracing the shape of her hand. He wrote another note and left it folded under his pillow. He told stories about a woman he once loved, never revealing her name. He showed regret and a quiet longing. A small gap had opened between the man who ruled in boardrooms and the man who only wanted to be forgiven. He once asked her to promise she would always care for others. She promised, a small pact sealed with a hand squeeze and a tired laugh ever after. Late autumn nights tightened around the ward. Mr. Harris's breathing thinned. Monitors chattered in small alarms. Aisha sat with him, humming, counting breaths. She held his hand like a promise. In the small hours, a surge of alarm cleared the corridor. So, doctors came and moved, quick as if time mattered. Aya smoothed his blanket and counted. 1, 2, 3, she whispered. He looked at her with tired clarity. You stayed, he said. She answered, I promised. He tried to tell her something. His voice was a rasp. I failed, he murmured. He spoke of a woman and a kite that drifted away. He spoke about doors he closed in pursuit of money. I thought I could buy back time, he said. The words hung in the room like paper caught in a draft. Alarms climbed. Aisha read the first note he'd given her that night. It said, if I sleep forever, tell them I found peace because someone showed up. The sentence echoed. He squeezed her hand with a sudden flare of strength. You gave me peace, he whispered. Thank you. The monitors softened. The doctors paused their work. A nurse checked for a pulse and then looked up at Aya. The room felt wide and empty in an instant. He had passed while the dawn was thin, and the lights outside were pale. Aisha leaned her head to his hand and wept quietly. She sat beside him after the others left. The ward whispered with the rustle of sheets. The legal steps followed quickly. A lawyer called the hospital the next week. There had been instructions. An envelope in a locked drawer. The administrator opened it with care. Inside was a letter addressed to Aisha. His handwriting was cramped but deliberate. He thanked her for staying. He wrote that he'd been late to love and late to forgive himself, but that her presence had given him a grace he never expected. He had left a modest trust. The money would fund a small night vigil fund to support nurses who worked overnight. He wanted a plaque in the ward and a scholarship for night shift staff training. The letter said, for those who hold hands when nobody else can. Aya sat in the chapel and read the legal pages until her eyes blurred. She thought of Mina and the small promises that ripple out in ways you cannot predict. She thought of the night she left a note on a bedside table and how that note had stayed under a pillow. She thought about being chosen to witness someone's last moments and how that had changed something inside her. She folded the letter close to her heart. Weeks passed. The hospital moved with careful steps. Lawyers met with administrators. Papers were signed. The trust Mr. Harris left was genuine. It funded a night vigil fund and a small scholarship for night nurses. It also paid to improve a restroom for staff. A plaque was proposed in the night ward. A quiet dedication was held. The plaque read, in honor of those who keep vigil in the dark. Someone had added, for Aisha, who showed us what presence can do. Aya touched the metal and felt a tear. Mina stood beside her, holding a paper flower. The applause was soft. Small changes followed. The hospital offered a modest stipend for night staff. A young nurse used the scholarship to train in palliative care. The restroom got chairs and books and a kettle. It did not fix everything, but nights felt safer. Colleagues told stories of learning to listen by watching Aya. The ward felt a little less lonely. Aisha kept Mr. Harris's letter in a drawer where Mina could sometimes see the handwriting. She read it aloud on slow evenings. Mina would ask, did he get better? Aisha would answer, he found peace. She told Mina the story of a kite and how sometimes things drift away and then you learn to let them be free. Life returned to a steady rhythm. Aya still worked nights. She still hummed Mina's lullaby for strangers, but she did so with something softer inside. The fund helped her colleagues take short breaks. The scholarship gave one nurse a new skill. The restroom offered tea to exhausted staff. These were small gifts, but they mattered. On the anniversary of his passing, the hospital lit candles and asked staff to share memories. Aya read from his final note. She steadied her voice while Mina held the paper. The room filled with quiet stories. Nights when someone stayed by a bed, a hand held until dawn. People cried. People laughed softly. The ritual felt right. Months later, a young trainee walked the corridor at midnight. She paused by the plaque and rested her palm against the words. She remembered why she chose this work. Aisha watched from the station with a soft smile. Mina, at home, drew a new picture for her mother about stars and kites. A neighbor brought over a small dinner once, saying the community had seen the plaque and wanted to help. A simple meal shared on a night off tasted like everything. Aya's sleep remained patchy, but her hopes felt fuller. She could take a short course with the scholarship funds and teach others what she knew. The story ends simply: a nurse tucks a blanket. A child sleeps safe. A plaque glints in the corridor light. The narrator closes with a gentle truth. Sometimes the smallest acts echo the longest. Show up, stay. Your presence matters more than you know. Aisha kept the letter in her pocket. It reminded her to show up every single night.